Sup? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Mario, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. My brain is melting, it's kinda hot. Beaches suck, man. Dude, I live by the beach and it's hot. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the first story for today before my brain melts. Edgelord vs Cringelord. I'm gonna love this story. I love edgelords and I love the term cringelord. This was when Cyberpunk RED first came out, leading up to the release of 2077. Recently, I was chatting with a friend about a RED game and this story shot to the front of my mind like a NAM flashback of my time lost in the cringe. While they've made some edits to RED over the years, it launched in a weird state and still has not gotten what I would call proper support. No actual Borgware unless there's a book I'm not aware of. When my RPG group decided to play, riding the hype of 2077, we thought it was awkward, but we were willing to give it a shot. Since one of our group had a friend interested in RPGs but new, he was invited to join us. This was the Cringelord. We sat down to do character creation together, and while this was a while ago, I'm going to do my best to remember how he, in his own words, described his character to the GM in one long unbroken paragraph. He's a Yakuza hitman, but he's not actually Japanese, but they respect him because he's a badass killer. He also had a bunch of tattoos and scars, but they're styled scars that he works into his tattoos. Also, he uses any weapons he can get his hands on. Rifles, shotguns, pistols, swords, and throwing stars. Actually, he doesn't use swords and throwing stars since that's weebish, but he knows how to use them because he's in the Yakuza. Oh, but the Yakuza doesn't mind him working freelance since they respect him. Also, he gets a lot of bitches, like hot Asian bitches who doesn't mind that he's Latino, but he's also like cool and distant, the relaxed and strong silent type. Also, he only wears high-end suits and bling, but he keeps it clean since he's so good in a fight that he doesn't get dirty. He drives fancy sports cars. My voice is gonna die from reading this, but like, the cringe must flow, the cringe must go on. I was reeling from that wave of words. He and the GM somehow worked out how to make that into a character. I don't really remember how since I was searching high and low for Borgware, and the closest thing RED had are those exosuits that you draft onto your body like in Elysium. Despite being 25 years after 2020, the GM and I eventually decided to just say the Sigma frame was a full body replacement since we both thought the absence was odd and I'd taken the military sponsorship option for the new body, also something from 2020. My character was an NUSA grunt who fought nomad reclaimers invading the ravaged Night City, then later fell into the maelstrom since there were a cyber psycho gang in his residential area, so they kinda became his default gang option. Hilariously, I ended up making a heavy metal skinhead punk rocker like in the 2077 game, just based on a RED description, and thus the Edgelord was made. At this point, nobody in a party of 6 really thought anything of the Cringelord since we all seen nuclear grade cringe characters turn out to be awesome. Nuclear grade cringe. I love the set of words, dude. I love this. This writer is a wordsmith. Session 1, we get a call for a job. We need to meet a fixer in the combat zone for a heavy-duty recovery job. Now, my guy used all of his money to get bored and basically lived in a shipping container turned apartment unit without anything else to his name. The GM then just had Cringelord come pick us up in his fancy sports car. This immediately goes poorly as he is narrated in front of my home, only to then give the spiel about how he doesn't want Borg freaks in his car. I tried talking to him in character about how he's going to get reduced to staying in the combat zone and a fancy suit isn't going to save him, so he needs a solo there. Everyone tries to reason with him out of character, with the GM basically saying, dude, you want to play RED or not? And eventually I just challenged him to a phase down, since GM suggested as a mechanical solution. He loses, he draws a gun instead of backing down, he fires at a -3 I think, barely plinks my armor, then I just roll to drag him out of the fancy car and drive off without it. Wow, that kind of went pretty fast. I thought it was going to be a lot more dramatic. There's like one last paragraph left. This just leads to him ranting about how cool his guy is and how he wouldn't be afraid of a Borg. He would never get carjacked and he'd detonate the car bomb that he didn't actually have. And he was going to call the Yakuza, which he didn't have connections to. He was going to do all of those things to get me killed that he couldn't actually do. Then he just screamed and left, and never seen or heard from him again. The GM just said he got killed by a maelstrom while roaming around the neighborhood, throwing a fit. Sadly, the Red game didn't go very long, as we were all pretty let down by the system, and then 2077 came out and sucked. So the GM just lost all motivation to run the game, or even swap to 2020. Damn, I was hoping we could get more of the Cringelord, dude. I had my voice prepared and everything. It hurts to do these voices. But man, that's such a wonderful concept of Edgelord and Cringelord facing off. I want more Edgelord and Cringelord stories. When can I get more Edgelord versus Cringelord? I need that in my life. So satisfying to read. Anyway, let's get to the next story for today. Maybe it might be more Edgelords and Cringelords, who knows? Yet another bad experience, and learning LGBTQ+ spaces aren't always safe spaces. I can't sleep and suddenly remembered the story, so here it goes. Not that long ago, I was a teenager new to D&D 5e. After my first TTRPG experience, a horror story unto itself, started looking at online D&D games. This is one of the first games I joined that, like many, turned out badly. I joined a game advertised as being LGBTQ+ friendly. Being part of the Alphabet Mafia myself, I was excited. I meet with the DM. He is a gay man in his 30s and had been DMing for most of his life. He's very polite and explains the campaign is set on a complex homebrew world that he had been building for a decade. He offers to help me since I'm new, and later, through text, helps me make a character and backstory that fit the setting. The basics of my character aren't relevant to this story, but it is important that I made my character male. I am AFAB, and named them a basic traditionally male name. I gotta be honest, I don't know what AFAB is. Means assigned female at birth. Gotcha. I joined the group for the first session. They had played 2 sessions before, and I'm joining on session 3. It's immediately bad. Everyone else in the group is DM's old buddies, so other men in their 30s, 40s, and the loudest people I've ever met. Like, actually they didn't talk, they screamed. They're cracking a lot of inappropriate jokes and hurling slurs around, among other things. The druid apparently heals by groping people and casts spells by moaning and making sexual innuendos. Oh. Another player's character is constantly blacked out drunk and acts like it, constantly making gagging noises and insulting people. Oh. There's an NPC with the group. The DM made a very exaggerated stereotypical black woman voice for her and used the N-word constantly. DM was white. Oh. Everyone is misgendering my character, calling them a female version of their name, even after I correct them several times. Like, imagine being told something like, "This is my character Mike," and they call him Michaela. Oh. I barely get to talk at all, and when I do, I get ignored or interrupted. Oh. I was very uncomfortable, but being very new, didn't have the confidence or instinct to leave the situation. I stayed for 2 more sessions and eventually made an excuse to quit. The scariest thing for me is how the DM's personality completely changed from when I met him to the actual session. I feel like there were 0 warning signs. Some people just straight up act very different when they're in a way too comfortable position, like with their buds and pals and stuff, and at times they kind of go a little bit extra that you could never expect them to do. Since they invited you to this space, they're realizing that, oh wait a minute, we have a new person here, I should probably act like a decent human being for once, instead of saying what I usually would say. They could get the Discord chat leaked and get me in trouble or something. If that's how they want to play their games and that's how they want to interact, scream and yell and do whatever they want to do is whatever they want to do. But I mean, these guys screaming and yelling and hollering and just like being extremely rude and stuff, like they're way too comfortable with each other, which, hey, that's their vibe. They could do whatever the hell they want to do. Whatever you want to do in your personal friend group and stuff doesn't matter for me. It doesn't affect me, whatever. If you find yourself in a group like that and you don't vibe with the vibes, leave. Simple as that. The straw that broke the camel's back. Hi again, another story from me. This is same DM as the one from last story because as I stated in that story, I was and still new to D&D, and I'm 2 months wiser and 2 campaigns wiser than when we had the particular DM. Back then I didn't know the mantra, no D&D is better than bad D&D, so if you want to say this was my fault, I 100% agree. I don't think I read this writer's post before, so I'm kind of going in blind with this. Look, we're going in blind together, so screw it, let's just go in blind. So this happened during the campaign for my last story, except it was right before we had this session from hell. Lucille was sick, so the DM offered to just do a one-shot with me. I would just have to make a temporary character. Didn't have to be fancy. He said he would probably leave the one-shot at level 5, at most. So I didn't really have to do any planning. So I made an elf assassin named Rayla. brownie points if you get that reference. I was part of this gang that was going to steal from a ship owned by a local drug lord. It bought all the medicine that was supposed to go to the hospital, and my gang was basically being Robin Hood. Rayla was tasked with being the lookout, and things were going smooth until I messed up on a stealth roll and the lord's goons noticed me. I tried fighting them, but it was basically pummeled because it was 5-1 because her gang had already snuck up on the ship. Rayla was knocked unconscious, and the DM explained that after a bit I woke up tied to a chair. I was blindfolded, but I could tell with how cold I was, had to have been stripped naked and tied to a chair. What? Yes, this was a red flag for me, but I was curious to keep going. He asked me if I minded mild ERP for one shot, and I said so long as it's mild, so no SA or struggle snuggle or etc. And if it faded to black, if things were consensual, because I actually was willing to try to seduce the drug lord to use it as a way to curry favor, maybe get untied, so I could at least do something. XD. That's not an XD moment, that's a monk ass moment, dude. I mean, I guess maybe some people are cool with it, you know, to be like, whatever, I can try to seduce him and see, you know, where it goes and stuff, but just like tied to a chair naked, that's a really strange way of putting it together. The drug lord DL started asking me questions like, who told me the shipment was here? I went out of character and asked the DM if I knew, and he said the gang boss never gave me that information. So I rolled for deception and got a 16. Failed. Took 9 points of bludgeoning damage as the DL punched me. Asked again, I rolled perception and got another medium roll, I think. It was like 12, I don't remember. Failed again. Took another 9 points of damage. I had maybe 4 HP left at this point. I went out of character again and asked the DM, what the heck am I supposed to do? I don't have the information he wants and I'm about to die. I didn't know about saving throws at the time. The DM just told me he won't let the DL kill me. But if your character doesn't know, then why are you rolling deception? There's no need to roll deception. Just be like, I have no idea. I don't know. I've not been told anything. I've just been told to keep a lookout. If your character doesn't remember, then why are you rolling deception? Your character just generally doesn't remember. You're not lying. You're telling the truth. And if the character insights you, they'll be able to tell, yeah, they're telling the truth. And even though they try to roughen you up to try to get some sort of answers and stuff, it is just kind of going a little bit overboard, I think. The dice gods finally gave me a natural 20 for deception, but the DM said that the drug lord had a feat where deception didn't work on him and slapped me doing 3 damage and I was slipping unconscious again. Then why even have the player roll deception in the first place? It feels like a gotcha moment or something, where you're just forcing the player to keep rolling a thing, and even if you succeed, haha, you thought you succeeded, but you never could. You never had the chance in the first place. You never had the possibility of doing so, because my super awesome character here has the invincibility to a deception in the first place, so all your other rolls, especially your roll 20, are completely null and void, and you were losing from the start. This is just a setup to make a player lose from the very beginning. Why even roll deception in the first place? I hate that sort of thing. I despise that sort of thing. When DMs make their character or enemy overpowered for no reason and then try to dangle it like some sort of keychain in front of player just to be like, haha, gotcha. My character's cooler than your character. Fuck you, DM. Fuck you and the horse who rode it on. But before I passed out, I felt the drug lord untie me and mentioning having a fun time with me, ew, to his cronies. That's when I immediately stopped the session because I told him we agreed no SA. But the DM said we didn't have to RP the SA, I could just wake up in the woods where they dumped my body, but I have to roll to see if he impregnated me. What the fuck is wrong with this DM, dude? Jesus fucking Christ. I said no. And if he tried it again, I was kicking him from my Discord server. That's why in my other story we booted him. I didn't read the other story, I kinda don't want to at this point because this DM is fucking gross, and I hope you don't associate with this DM ever again. Fucking gross, dude. 5e game turns into a railroady kindergarten. I need to expose a bit of interpersonal context before we begin. You'll see it as to the cringe I'm feeling right now. A few years ago, after I, male 28, just broke up from a toxic relationship, my 5e GM, 28 female, messaged me to tell me how much she loved me and hoped we could be together. I respectfully declined and we never talked about it again. We now both have girlfriends, hers being a player at our table. Ooh, drama. Now for the fiction. We've been playing on a 5e campaign with a homebrew world for the past 5 years. My second and actual character is an Oathbreaker paladin, edgiest of edgelords and super self-conscious about it. I made him a joke in agreement with the table, as the other characters are lighthearted. He's the butt of every joke. His two companions who have been in the story for a longer time are two tieflings, a brooding but sweet fighter, I'll call her the pirate, and a playful trickster warlock. He'll be the prankster. Our goal is to discover the mystery behind the empress who once wanted to destroy, and whom my paladin used to serve. We made several session zeros, as a few players left and joined during the campaign, and we all agreed to play an epic tale of David versus Goliath, a small team against an empire, seafaring to find allies all around the world and undermine the empire. We also use safety tools, and you will see I'm very guilty of not using them when I should have. 2 years or so ago, my edgy paladin was challenged to a duel at night by a female orc, whom we'll call the Lioness, her in-game title. After the duel, she flirted with him, and I was thinking it could be a cool character development to see him engage with someone. So I rolled with it, and they slept together off screen. Remember GM's declaration? I think you'll start to see what's coming. Out of game, the GM announces proudly that she's commissioned my sister, who is an artist, to make portraits for upcoming characters. Nice! A couple of sessions later, the Lioness showed up again, pregnant. I didn't think it would go much further, but I realized now I should have X-carded right at this moment, and I deeply regret not having done so. Welcome her aboard our ship. An adventure goes on. I'm regularly prompted with questions about how the paladin is going to handle it by the GM, and I try to make it clear that I'm not interested in playing this out, which is answered by her with unsolicited relationship advice and blaming. Everyone else seems to cringe and shuts up every time. I'll spare you the details about discovering she's pregnant with twins and having to deal with the ghost of her dead husband. That's a lot of backstory for a character tag-along. She'd tag-along, right? She's not like a main character like DMPC or anything. Starting off a little bit strange, especially with the whole relationship advice stuff, and I'm assuming the DM is trying to hint towards something. It's like she still has feelings for the guy, but because he never responded the same way, she kind of maybe hopes that there's some sort of response later or something. I don't know, I can only assume for now, but it does seem to have a pregnant lioness and kind of low-key give relationship advice and stuff like that. It feels like a setup to something bigger. Meanwhile, in-game comes a new plotline. The queen of the orc tribe asks subtly my paladin to marry the lioness for diplomatic purposes. Once again, should have X-carded, but I was surprised and didn't properly react. So once again, I'll spare you the details, but I've been pressured to make my paladin propose the lioness, they go shopping for wedding garments, and organize the marriage, and that took us about 1 session total, scattered across 2 or 3 actual sessions, and left the other 2 players doing almost nothing during that time. You know, it just hit me. The lioness is the DM, the DM's avatar, and she's trying to find a way to still keep with the paladin in some way, like the character, just so she can still have that sort of that something with him, almost like a self-insert character that you're kind of using as an avatar to try to have a fictional relationship that maybe she thinks will go somewhere or something. Maybe he's like, this lioness, it's been the DM all along. I can't believe I was a fool to not see it further. DM, I love you, or something like that. I'm expecting some sort of she's thinking it's gonna turn into something big or major, but the player is kind of like, whatever. Kind of going along with it. Finally, the lioness gives birth to the twins, and oh surprise, the artworks are those of the children. They're beautiful, and under willing circumstances I would have loved them. So now I'm feeling kind of bad, because I don't feel like playing through parental issues with my D&D game, and every time I try to express that, I'm pointed to as typical male, not able to take responsibility. But now the GM has even spent money to give these characters a face, so I feel I would be a terrible person to put them aside. You are not a terrible person to put them aside, because the DM is kind of manipulating you to have some sort of feeling of responsibility that you're part of this whole thing. You have no romantic intention with the DM, and you shouldn't be forced or feel bad about not having romantic intention with the DM. It feels like the DM is trying to do some sort of either punishment or a lead up to oh, maybe we'll get together if his character and my lioness are together. And look, paladin look and feel guilty for how beautiful our children are and the artwork that are commissioned and stuff. It's like a weird manipulation tactic to try to get somebody like with you. He's responsible now for this fake lioness and fake kids. They're fake. They're fictional characters. But she's making this whole big, huge deal about it, even creating commissioned art for them and stuff. It's just, why? What are you doing, lady? It's been about a year since she told us about the artwork being commissioned, and I learned by my sister that we didn't see every artwork yet. Every artwork yet? Christ, how many did you commission? A few sessions later, we are ambushed by a drow airship. We sail a regular ship. We had beef with their family, and they're here for revenge. The fight is violent, too violent. Allied NPCs die, and soon the children are kidnapped. Me and the Pirates player try to set up a catapult to propel ourselves towards the airship. Spent 2 turns doing so, only to be told that it wouldn't reach anyway. The prankster, in a desperate attempt, flies toward the airship and asks to slam himself in the magic sails, willing to take damage or sacrifice his staff of power to do so. GM makes him roll. He succeeds. Takes damage and nothing else. We're a bit salty after the fight. First we rolled poorly, but then we felt like we'd been robbed of our agency. Plus GM used a lot of homebrewing for our enemies, which we usually don't do. We usually play with WOTC content only, and all PCs are 100% adventurously compatible, but hey, we talked about it. GM said she was sorry, and we rolled with it. Now, to retrieve the children, we spent a lot of time searching for the lair of the drows. Managed to sneak inside. I'll spare you the details once again, and we finally find the children, who have been magically aged to their teenage years and trained as drow assassins. Cool plot twist. I like it, except these are the missing artworks. GM shows us proudly the 2 custom-made artworks, the teenage half-orc twins turned drow assassin, artwork that were made a year and a half ago, before even consulting us about whether or not we would like this kind of story to be included into the game. I felt robbed of our player agency and weirded out by how far this in-game relationship thing went. I normally wouldn't mind this kind of story if only I had been asked about it before, and if it didn't lead every single interaction about it to cringe comments about how I, as a player, handle the relationship and should do the other way around. I know I should talk about it openly, but this is so intrinsically weaved into the game now that I feel having this talk will just lead to the end of a 5-year campaign. Kinda bums me out. Anyway, thanks for the read. Might post about the sequel of this story, a Monster Hearts campaign where similar things happen with the same person as the MC, and only to my character, of course. The campaign is already ruined because the DM is just so deep into this whole thing. She threw away everything y'all had going on. Hemp is this whole new thing. I think you should talk to the DM and tell him that you aren't interested in whatever they're doing. Somehow change course corrected it completely before it completely falls apart. But if the DM chooses not to do that, then I say just drop out and leave. End the campaign. Do you really think it's going to be worth having to babysit all these kids and receive cringe commentary of this like pseudo relationship with the DM because she apparently, I guess, maybe has feelings for you and stuff, or she's trying to punish you or something, or have some sort of romantic connection with you still through the game? I don't think it's worth it. Talk to the DM, and if they're not willing to budge, quit. This is not worth it. This is insanity. You need to get out of this situation pronto. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.